I'm not sure if I identify as a survivor only because I don't speak about my experience as much and I don't share it, but I know I still need to work through it. So perhaps once the healing process has gone to the point that it needs to go to, perhaps then I will be able to call myself a survivor. But in general, when you think about the word survivor, you definitely think of someone that has experienced something tragic and life altering, something that has been embedded into their core, and something that has changed the way that they either think or process things or feel or act or do or even treat themselves. So I guess in the book title, I guess, sure, yeah, I'm a survivor. But do I talk about it? No. I talk about, things with my husband. I flirt around the topic with people that, have the awareness of it. Um, but yeah, I don't know if I'm strong enough to be a survivor yet, if that makes sense. Yeah, something that's hard to really overcome. You think you do. You think you overcome what's happened, and the expectation is that you've overcome it because of, you're in a better place. You're not there anymore, blah, 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 blah. But it's like, yeah, but, there's still parts of you that are either triggered or are still there, or, you forget about and you don't realize. So, yeah, it's a lot. Healing is definitely not linear. I mean, if you just take grief in general, right? I've never had good examples of grief. My father passed away when I was 18, which kind of might have been that, segue or access point into me being vulnerable to a situation where I could have experienced or been impacted by domestic violence. And my mother wasn't a good example of grief when my father passed away, because it was just like, okay, you gotta, no tears, we're fine. Let's go shop, let's go take care of business, let's go do what we have to do, let's clean, let's do this, let's do that, but not actually talking about, what happened or the pain or the grief. And then obviously, my experience took place over the course of maybe 2-3 years. A lot of it is a blur, so I'm still trying to figure that out. But then fast forward, lots of deaths, lots of things that have occurred in my life, family members, close people, suicides, lots of things. But I think the tipping point that has kind of started this non-linear healing journey was a tragedy within our family where my brother-in-law and 2 of my 3 nieces were killed in a house fire. And that kind of like opened up a lot of gashes, a lot of hurt, and things that were unresolved, and things that have kind of seeped into my being and my bones and my joints and my muscles. And yeah, and it's just all starting to come out. And this was in 2022. So it's been a roller coaster of eye-opening conversations, jaw-dropping reflections, and it's been a lot. Yeah, but it's all connected. They're all, it's like that, that spider web, or the untangling scenario of a crochet or knitted sweater, where just takes one pull. It just takes one spark. It takes one something to just ignite or to unravel, however you want to look at it. Something that you thought was really cinched up, and was really, okay, I'm good, I'm all right. But, it's just everything unravels. And it's happening while, you're going through life, right? So I have a family, I have 2 kids, and all of that is happening while I still have to, work, um, you know, have a business, take care of a house and family. So all of these things are happening at the same time. Yes. And healing, people don't realize how much, grief and not acknowledging and feeling your emotions impacts you, not only you as a person, but your body, right? We hold everything So, illnesses, inflammation. I have rheumatoid arthritis. I have osteoarthritis. So these are things that are, when I say they seeped into me, they truly have, and I'm just now starting to realize how much pain it has all inflicted. Well, here's the challenge. It's hard to be supported when you don't speak on things and when you don't share things. I mean, in general, just as my intersection as, a Black female, an artist, an empath, youngest child, and all those things, you're kind of told to shut down and not bring in outside things to anyone. You're not, afforded the opportunity, or at least it appears that way and seems to be ingrained in you that, oh, don't share that. Nobody wants to hear that. Well, we'll just keep that quiet, right? Which is part of the reason why people kind of fall into these situations. So I guess me not talking about it, I mean, if I talked about it more, would people listen? I don't know. But just thinking about, if you look at the grief aspect and you look as a Black person historically and socially, as environmentally, when you're raised, again, if you are experiencing anything, whether it's grief or pain or solitude, when you go into work or you leave the house, you leave all that behind. You don't let anybody see it. You go into, the office, you go into school, whatever building you're in, and you put that smile on, you put that mask on, and you show that you're good, you're Teflon, nothing's gonna cut through. You're all about business, you're tough, you're strong, quote unquote. But the reality is we do need to share more, and I don't know if I have the strength to be vulnerable enough, which is why I'm here, but we have to have the strength and be vulnerable enough to share the things that we're going through, because they are part of our experiences and they are part of who we are, and they impact how we show up. They impact the decisions that we make, the company that we keep. All of the actions that we do are, driven by the experiences, pleasant or unpleasant, that we've been through. And talking about it is important. But when you let things go for so long, where do you even begin? How do you, having this, life that is, you're grateful for and you're just beautiful and successful, compared to how could I have been this person that had gotten into this situation? When I was in, like, I'm sure my family knew, but then I would, oh, I'm fine, everything's great, I'm so happy, I'm getting married, all this other stuff, stupid stuff. Once I kind of realized I had to remove myself from that situation, I did have resources, but during it, which I think impacted the trust factor and probably why I was kept away from friends and family, is that he was sleeping with a lot of people that I thought were friends, right? That I thought were people that I could confide in. I remember a couple instances. One was I went to a gala. I had been, part of a sorority, and I went to a gala, and I'm like, oh, I'm here, and I'm with this guy, and oh my gosh, he's so cute, and everybody keeps staring at him and us, and young stupid stuff. But only come to realize he had slept with like 10 of my sorority sisters, and they never said anything to me, right? And then even to the point where I was working in higher ed, as an intern. And my boss, who I thought was a friend and a confidant, I would talk to, about, different things. Not a lot of detail, but just, uncomfortable situations that I had been in. Come to find out, she was sleeping with him. It's like, so I never felt like I had a safe space. One of my best friends, because she had a relationship with him. So it's like all these people, I'm like, oh my gosh. Which to this day, I'm like, I kind of want to have conversations with them. But at the same time, like, oh, it's in the past. But when I did finally get the courage, I will say, I'm not going to say come to my senses. I'm just going to say when I finally got the courage. Because people say, "Oh, you finally came to your senses." No, it's not that. You have your senses, you have your facilities, but it's almost like when the police officers throw tear gas or smoke into a situation to diffuse the situation. It's like you're just in a cloud of fog. You're in a cloud of you don't have a gas mask on, so you need someone to provide that gas mask to you. And I remember contacting one of my aunts who has passed, and I don't remember what I said. I told her, I said, I need help. I'm in this relationship, and I'm being abused, and said I don't know who to talk to, and I didn't want to tell my mom because I didn't want it to be a disappointment or an embarrassment for either of us. Of course, it's embarrassing if this happens, because you hear people talk about, oh, did you hear about, they're in this relationship and the police had to be called. You don't want to be that person. But after telling my aunt, I finally had to tell my mother and my sisters, and they were very supportive. They always have been. But I still felt that distance that had been created, that it's almost like you can't get back that time. So I continue to be this outsider because I still have that experience that nobody else has ever had, so they don't understand it. The support system was there. I don't think I went to a therapist, but I think it was just a matter of, okay, you're out of that and you're done. But of course, that's not the case, because there's still instances that you go back just to see if that was really what was going on, just to get answers to the questions why, just to understand, well, what was it? Was it me? Was it really me? Was I everything that you said? Was I this horrible person? Was I this ugly person that nobody needed to, talk to? Yeah, and you don't realize how much domestic violence, again, impacts you. Like, even just thinking back to, in my mind, different scenarios, I just realized how much was taken away from me. Not just physically, but, emotionally, and just being able to cope and handle certain situations, and trust factors and everything else. So many different things have been taken away. It was my you know receptiveness or openness that welcomed this, and how do I trust myself again? I'm still finding those tools. I don't think I've really found anything that's really been me. I struggle in the self-care department. I struggle in the making myself the priority department. I struggle with a lot of that, but I'm hoping that I will overcome that struggle. Honestly, the biggest thing that's helped me is a loving relationship with my best friend that I've been married to for 24 years, where he was my friend beforehand, my very best friend, and we had a time gap because of that thing, that relationship. It was a relationship. It was a relationship. But we were both vulnerable enough and loved each other enough to come back to each other. It took a long time to open up about any of this, but that's helped tremendously. Just talking to him, and just him allowing me to talk. He's not trying to solve anything. He's not trying to fix anything. He is, but he still gets he still feels as much pain, obviously not comparatively, but he does feel as much pain as I have when it comes to this. But that's really been helpful. I think that's really the one thing that's kind of gotten me over, because every time we have a conversation, I'm like, oh, I'm good. This is all right. I got it out. But then we have another one, and it's like, it's worse than before. But having that safe space that he's carved out for me, where I can share and emote, and he's not going to judge me. He's not going to question me. He's not going to call me stupid or, why'd you do that? He's just there. And I think that's all I can handle, right? I can't handle the writing it out. Clearly, I can't handle the talking of it. But for me, just having someone that I can trust and, knows a lot of me. I feel like I'm segmented in my relationships. I compartmentalize myself when I'm with certain people. I have certain people that, know different parts of my life story. But he's, one of the two that knows everything of my life story. And I think that's really the thing has helped me the most. Some of the affirmations that I hold dear are, I am bright, brilliant, and beautiful. I am loved. I love myself. I am special, unique, and filled with light. Another affirmation is, which is sometimes difficult, but I'm exactly where I need to be. And what is for me is for me. That one I had to grow into, because your experiences don't make up who you are. And what's been done to you does not determine who you are. So I'm at a point now where I'm finding myself. And I remember, which is why affirmations are important to me. We went to a medium, Reiki healer. He was a Reiki healer. But one of the things that he said was, as we go through life, when experiences happen, we lose a piece of ourselves. And those pieces obviously create the holes in you. And something that's most important is that you have to go back and gather up all of your pieces. So whether it's through meditation or through daydreaming or right before you go to sleep, you go back to those periods in your life that were haunting, tragic, traumatic, grief-stricken, painful, all those pieces. And you go back to whatever age you were, whoever that was, and you find them and you speak to them and you tell you how much you love yourself and that you're safe. And you just pour into them, and then you grab them up in a hug and you drive away, walk away, whatever from that situation, just so you can gather up all your pieces. So I have been working to achieve the ability to gather as many pieces as I can as things do come up. So if an affirmation triggers something, or if an experience triggers something, or if something does happen, I try and go back and apologize to myself for whatever might have happened or might have become. And then I tell myself how much I love me, and gather myself up, gather up all my pieces. So that's kind of the phase that I'm in right now. Still gathering, still finding everything. I think the biggest thing for me is the time that I lost, especially with our most recent tragedy, because I remember when my oldest niece, who passed away, was born. And I was actually in my sister's apartment with her and her husband, and she was in labor. But I don't think I equated that. I couldn't be bothered. I had to go. I had to get out of there because I had someplace to be, which I didn't have to be. And, the person had kind of taken me from my family in a way and blocked me in a way from my family. So, I left. And the next thing I knew, my sister was in the hospital having the baby. So then I had to figure out a way to get to the hospital and just to see my niece. And even that was a limited time. And that's still really painful for me, because there are lots of those little moments where it's like, wow, that was nasty. That was cruel, you know? And then I, go through the beating myself up, and I have to tell myself that, you didn't know, You're okay. You did what, you were there when you could be there. You were helpful when you could be there. But mm, sometimes I don't know what words to say to myself. So yeah, so some things are triggering, even the small things. Smells, everything. A lot of different things. Like literally daily. Yeah. I just don't want to be sad anymore. I think that's the biggest thing. I just don't want to feel like I can't be excited and jubilant, right? I mean, I am. I have fun. I laugh. I do all those things, but deep down in my core, just feels like something's trapped in a cage that just needs to be the cage needs to be shattered or something. So, still trying to identify that. One thing I would tell someone that is healing from abuse is to be patient with yourself and give yourself grace, to tell them that they're not alone and what they've been told is not true. I would tell them that they are strong enough to think about themselves and to do what's right for them. I would tell them that they were told many lies that were not true, and they have to find the truth within themselves. And I would tell them that they have to listen to their intuition because they know exactly what's going on. And with that strength and that courage that they have deep down, they can actually listen to what they're telling themselves. I speak as someone who is loved, and I speak as someone who has a giving heart. And I speak as someone who is an empath and needs to recognize my own boundaries. I speak as a mother who wants to protect her children from everything. I speak as a wife and a friend who feels that they've hurt the person closest to them. I speak as someone who has a lot to offer. I speak as someone that is afraid of disappointment. I speak as someone who is afraid of vulnerability and showing their true self. I speak as someone who has experienced so much loss, but also doesn't know how to talk about it or come out of the grief. I speak as someone who has a lot to offer and really wants to help a lot of people, but sometimes struggles finding her own voice, but can easily offer advice and comfort to everyone except herself.